You wonder if Ben has not realized he hasn't gone live. Yes, that was the case. Alright guys, are you seeing me now? Let's see. Hi, it's Ben from Second Dynasty. If you are in the chat, can you please indicate if this is the start of the stream for you or if you've been watching me for several minutes? It counts as Friday the 13th. Yes, indeed, it is Ben from Second Dynasty. It is Friday the 13th of December. And I was going to say things can't go as bad as last week's live stream, but apparently I am wrong. Which, you know, my wife tells me all the time. No, I'm kidding. I often am wrong. In any case, I just want to say hi again to the chat, which I've already done. I guess you guys didn't hear or see that. So g'day to Doug, Kathy, Patrick. Who else we got? Solo. Stay off that voice to text conversion there. Let's see. Tamsin is here. Jaren or Yaren, I'm not sure. I assume Jaren maybe. Sam. Shergel, of course. And Clive. And Tyfolk. So, welcome to the chat, welcome to the stream. Episode 50, we've managed to actually do one of these for the first 50 weeks of the year. Will we make it to 52? Well, I hope so. Next Friday is actually extra festive because it's going to be our work Christmas party, I guess. So maybe if I can make sure the wife gets all the stable chores done, we can get started partying a little bit earlier. Maybe a little too early for some people, but I'd love to crack open a beer and just sort of look back at the year and see what we've accomplished on it. Hey, Blasted, you're not that late, mate, because I was streaming without going live, so you haven't missed very much. And STL of Benjamin and in a Santa hat. John makes those things. I can't do it. I just can't. So in the background you'll see, I was trying to say, like, I spent about 4 hours this week trying to fix my camera so that, trying to get my old phone to work as a camera instead of my webcam. So gone is this thing, which has been so shitty, and hopefully this at least is a little bit crisper, and we'll see if the autofocus is much better there. Look at that. You can see how much I cut up my fingers this morning. I slipped on my front porch. There was ice and rime all over it. And here you can see some GridForge tiles. Some new variants I came up with in the last few days. If you don't know what GridForge is, we're going to be talking about that today. But yeah, hopefully that is a significant upgrade. The other major news, sorry if I'm shouting, I'm in the office by myself today, so the whole team worked so hard. Both, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but we had several family emergencies in the last couple of weeks, which is why I was away last week. Everything's good, everything's fine. Nothing to worry about, but it did cause a bit of drama and delay and a spanner in the works, and it resulted in the hilarity of last week's episode. So I'm glad it happened. I ironically rang Alvin about 5 minutes before he started streaming and said, "You've got this, man, you'll be fine." Oh well. Let's see. So I'm probably going to have a more chill session today, just in mind, doing some very simple stuff, iterating, showing you guys what we've got. Which GridForge size do I prefer? You could see it right there, size number 3. So I don't know if that's in focus or not, but 3 is the nice middle of the roadway. It's the Swedish way, Jantelagen. Yeah, I held that too close to the camera, didn't I? The rest of the stream was great, yeah. But the irony of like, oh, I've got an echo, and then he takes off the headphones and proceeds not to hear the Yeah, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Anyway, yeah, right, let's get some background information out of the way. So the camera, I still need to fix it and make sure it's in the right sort of section, but you can see in the background here I've got an update ready to go. I need to add some more images, but I thought I would, I was just doing this right before we went live. I'm just going to stick in another couple of pictures. And these are our Sword Worlds miniatures from the 5th Frontier War campaign. And we're going to add in, let's see, we have the third pose with just the sword. There's a little bit of variance in each one, so they don't look identical. Fantastic job Ronaldo did on these ones. Happy with how they came out. So they all look dynamic, and they have different weapons, and the body shapes are slightly different, even though it's harder to tell from these angles. So, and obviously the hairstyles, the beards, you've got your fork beard one up the top here. Anyway, and then we've also got another work in progress of the first shot of the Darians, which I think is coming out really nicely. So yeah, that is going out because the major thing with the 5th Frontier War today is that we closed the campaign officially and started sending out the surveys, and I immediately realized I left in an unfinished sentence, and that is so like me, but the pertinent questions are there. It's mostly to say, if you backed this campaign, what are you interested in the form of pledge managers? We always make the assumption if you backed STL, we ask you for your My Mini factory account details. We automatically anyway just use your Kickstarter email if you don't fill out the survey. So the important thing is that we can start with delivery next week. Unfortunately, because of all of the family emergencies recently, and the fact that my mini factory basically said, we need you to launch GridForge a week ahead of schedule, it created a lot of chaos. Now, the intention was never for GridForge to interfere with the 5th Frontier War campaign deliveries, but the spanner in the works was just like, I wasn't even on GridForge. I ended up stepping in to some degree, but there's just a lot going on behind the scenes. It's crazy, the stuff that's happened, and what's even happened in the world in the last week. But yeah, hopefully we're getting back to normal, although obviously we're also getting into that Christmas phase. I'm the only one that's going to be working between Christmas and New Year's. There's only, I think, 3 actual work days in that week anyway. So my plan is that we release what we can by Friday next week. And it's going to be all of the core miniatures and all of the core vehicles. The only difference is we don't know if we're going to have the APC interiors done in time. And that's kind of where we're at. There's a lot of stuff been going on, so I'm sorry guys that we haven't been able to make everything according to the schedule that we were hoping for. I really didn't want to launch GridForge without having that release, even though it's a project, a side project that's been going on for a while. I am cognizant of the fact of how it looks for our company. We just did this Kickstarter, we haven't finished delivering it. It's not ideal. Hopefully it's forgivable. Kneeling poses are harder, even harder with digitigrade legs. Yes, indeed. You just filled out the survey. Did you also see this thing? I have got no responses so far. I don't know why. I don't know if the link's not working, but there was a link to this thing, both in... Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this. It kind of feels odd to me that no one has made a suggestion yet. So this is a survey I created just today. I thought I linked it in the other material, and I'm going to put in the update. In fact, I need to do that before. Let's shorten this and copy this, and we'll just have to remember to put this in. Suggest your traveler mini ideas. Alright, so I'll go back to that and fix it later because I don't want to spend too much time here. It's just a case of I need to get this done to a reasonable amount so I don't forget to send it out, because often by the end of the stream I'm like, it's 4 o'clock on a Friday, I am exhausted mentally, so yeah. The link for the figure survey came through just before the stream was meant to start, so I haven't made a suggestion yet. Maybe that's a part of it too. You know, people need to look through their books, because I did say one of the requirements, it's listed here, is it must be based on an official Mongoose 2nd edition design, and it would be helpful if you reference the book and page. So yeah, that's essentially it. I need to get it approved by Mongoose to begin with, and then ideally, I don't know exactly how the size limitations work in Traveller. I don't know if it's got a size system like in D&D where there's, you know, small, medium, large, but basically nothing smaller than a small miniature and nothing larger than a large miniature. So 1 square to 2 squares in size. Alright, everyone needs to request more non-humanoid aliens. Let's see, of course they just changed the cover of the core rulebook so it's a possible tie-in. Yeah, it could be indeed. Anyway, we're not going to talk too much about the Traveller stuff. I thought I'd just update you guys about where it's at. So the plan is still to have a release in December. Technically, we just said December. We didn't say December 1st or December 31st. But the nature of Christmas is such that not much happens in that last week. And yeah, normally we would be... Yes, you missed the survey. If you backed the 5th Frontier War campaign. But if you want to look at the survey, because this is just a suggestions one, so if you want to make a suggestion, there's the link. You can do it. So yeah, it didn't. Yeah, it came out a little while ago with the surveys, basically. And I even shared this with, the reason why I'm surprised there's no responses yet is because I shared it as well with the Facebook group for Traveller. And I should probably put it on the Discord as well, although the mods over there prefer me to post stuff in the Second Dynasty thread, which I can kind of understand. But it means that we don't get much exposure because I don't think many people are looking in there. Anyway. So the boring stuff aside, maybe we have no responses yet. I'll check it again at the end of the stream and we'll see. Or maybe you guys don't want it to be public. So I am popping into Maya, and if today, like, no one else is here, next week there'll be people in, I think, because of the party, but the week after it'll just be me. Oh, I'm so sorry. It might even be a home stream, now that I think about it. But yeah, this is all related to our GridForge campaign, which is actually John's brainchild. And there's a couple of different things that's come to mind here with GridForge. So why don't you guys in the chat let me know if you've heard of this thing before, GridForge, or if it's unfamiliar to you. I'll probably describe a little bit about it as well. But essentially, John came up with a system where you can separate the tile and the tile base and clip it together using his supported clips, which are about 1/3 of the size of an open lock clip, and you can print 50 of them in like 40 minutes. as opposed to open lock clips. 50 clips would take 2.5, 3 hours. It uses less plastic. You can recycle the tiles more, and it comes in a variety of sizes. And I think we've managed to communicate quite well on the page how it all goes together. I tried to put the trailer up on the front of this live stream, but for some reason YouTube thinks that video is invisible. I don't know if it's because we had a live premiere of it. Do we have a height standard for GridForge, say to having a second level? Yeah, I mean it all follows open lock, so it's the proper grid. The next level is 2 inches up, or 50.8 millimeters. So it's as simple as that, and that would be from the base of the frame to the base of the next level's frame. So it's all in keeping with our standard, which is based on OpenLock. So it is compatible with it, and yeah, it's compatible with it with a conversion clip. Now there are other drop-in solutions. This one does have like a, you'll be able to see this actually. Let me switch over to the camera here. So there are going to be some of these tiles that fall out because there is some natural wear and tear, but like this is a 3 and it shows you the kind of grip it has. I know there's one that's loose there. So that's quite grippy, and you can have like a pretty easy, like if I put this in a different square, I think it'll hold better. Yeah. So this is size 3. We've got from 0 to 6, I think. So 7 different levels of tension. And it uses, in principle, the same concept as those little plugs we have like for our missiles and whatnot, just on a more effective scale. So you can swap these out. We've got tiles for all sorts of things. But one of the things I love about it too is you can simulate by having this completely blank. Like I'd say 0 is a loose fit, 6 is you'll need tools to get it back out again. So you can use this right as the base. You lay that down, and if you leave it empty, you've got a fog of war. So you can see maybe the layout of where the base tiles are, but the contents you can actually add on the fly, and you could change. Like someone came up with a great, I can't remember who suggested it, there was a great idea that, oh, we could do some like damage tiles like for acid. Normally I say no damage, I hate damage, but the idea of having things like, oh, acid damage, now that's not a bad idea. That's something that like I can kind of get behind. I can see that being a useful tool. And this is also an open system, so whilst we own the rights to our tiles, the actual lock system, the actual frames are open source, and you can get a free license. It doesn't even require licensing from us. I think the contact thing is more about, well, don't quote me on that. That's my current understanding as far as what John has said. But I believe, for example, quite a few of our custom designers are already getting started. Obviously, you can't just remix our stuff and call it your own, but if you make original content with it, using the bases and the base tile templates, you can sell it for a profit or not. You can also redistribute the frames and the clips, however, you must do so with attribution, and they may not be modified. Oh, sorry, they can be modified, but you have to provide the original again or something like that. It's all in the licensing section. So, yeah. What do they attach to inside, i.e. on the base tile? They're just friction fit, Kathy. That's all. Supporting clips attach the different parts together. So, I'll switch cameras again. When I switch to the close-up though, I can't really see the chat, but we should be able to hopefully, yeah, you can see the supporting clip holes in there, and then we have conversion clips. And we've got a tight fitting clip, and we have a looser clip as well. So the more I use this, the more I love it. The Hyperion Sphere uses this system. We did a conversion of Shuttle Alpha, which is included in the all-in pledge, along with the Shuttle Alpha mod for if you don't have it. If you're a triber, it's 40% off the all-in pledge. Not the early bird. We thought 40% off the full pledge is very generous, as is. And already we're up at around 300 tiles, I think. Here's some stuff Shergel did too, converting the lab ship into a deck plan. So the idea behind these was mostly to be able to do deck plans without, ship holes and whatnot. But it actually is really good for ship holes as well. Because rather than having, multiple open lock tiles next to each other, they're all different shapes and sizes. You clip them together, but the floors end up a little bit uneven, and there might be different tolerances based on which orientation you printed it out on, or even which printer. John's thought of everything with this system. The entire system has print tolerances as well, so it has some give. But for example, say you want to deck out a 4x4 grid area, which is the largest supported. Say take the Chimera, for example, which is 8 inches at its widest, I believe. So you could just get 2 of the widest versions of this, and rather than having droopage and all these different things, the frames themselves will stay quite solid. So overall, it is stronger, it is lighter, and you don't have to take the bloody ship apart if you want to change the layout. It also allows you to do things like, for example, say you've got a weapons locker, and you have the closed model and you have the open model. Well, you can hot swap that live when you're playing. Lots of other different cool things that you could do to really liven up your table. So I love the concept of it, and it's going to be hard to stay away from this, if I'm being honest. We're still going to do the walls as open lock. We're not going to change. At this point, we just have too many products. But yeah. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. If you have the 40% discount, the all-in tier works out slightly cheaper. And obviously, most tribers are going to own the Sphere already. If you're subbed this month, that's what's coming out. It's only $5 for that ship, which feels kind of insane after the fact, but that's the way I chose to do things. Merry Christmas, I guess. Retracting ladders, yeah, there's all kinds of different things we could use. You want battle damaged interiors for hot swaps. Yeah, well, I mean, that was the suggestion, acid damage or whatnot. I don't like the idea of doing damaged tiles. Sorry, like open lock tiles. The idea of doing like damaged floor pieces here and there, though, I mean, we couldn't do it for every single one, but some acid splash damage or that sort of thing, it's not a bad idea. And certainly it would be easier to mod things like that for yourself. Like if you just took a heat gun to a tile, you could, gut it out or make it look damaged or whatnot. Money well spent. Thank you, Shadow Lager. I appreciate that. It may look like a lot of this stuff is older designs, but there's actually a significant amount of work involved in converting them, and then actually many of the designs that we've made, we've sort of operated at a loss, so it's kind of like a chance to breathe some new life into things. So I would like during this session, if you guys have some suggestions for tiles, that would be great. But like during the unlocks, because look, when we put this up, we were just like, okay, we need a nice easy way to make another, like, say 10 grand or so, just to make sure we're in the black this year. I have no idea if that'll be the case or not, but getting in 12k on the first day is really a huge and awesome development. Very great team effort getting this one out. It really was a struggle at the end, but I think it came out fantastic. And if you haven't seen the pitch video, actually, let's watch the pitch video. I just want to show it off.
Hi, I'm Ben from Second Dynasty. In 2017, you helped launch Second Dynasty with Starship. And since then, we've delivered over 10 fully realized 28mm scale starships. Now, we're excited to introduce GridForge, a revolutionary upgrade. GridForge is our next generation modular system that makes customizing your tabletop adventures effortless. With friction fit inserts and modular frames, you can swap floors and furniture in seconds, bringing speed and creativity to every game session. Plus, GridForge is fully backwards compatible with OpenLock tiles and our TNG system, so it can be used across all our existing products. Our base pledge starts with over 180 meticulously crafted 3D printable parts to get you started on your journey. Get more bang for your buck with the all-in pledge, including the breathtaking Hyperion Sphere and the upgrade to the Shuttle Alpha Mark IV. The Hyperion Sphere is a 3-floor masterpiece designed for ultimate versatility with stackable decks for tabletop play. We're also revisiting our classics like the Shuttle Alpha Mark IV. The GridForge compatible upgrade transforms it so you can easily customize your ship. We need your help to bring more floor tiles and items to GridForge. All unlocks are included with every pledge. GridForge launches exclusively on My Mini Factory's Frontiers platform. No waiting, no hassle, just innovation at your fingertips. So join us today and take your adventures to the next level.
I love that lightning effect there at the end. Will I show the outtake again? Yeah, why not? I can show the outtake again. Let's get into my folder system here. Oh, I can show that off. Let's see. Video, and it is that one. There, and I need to turn back on my system audio or you will not hear it. So let me just go and open with VLC.
Hi, I'm Ben from Second Dynasty. I'm not compensating for anything. Hi, I'm Ben from Second Dynasty. I'm not compensating for anything.
So hopefully that came through all right. Let me know in the chat. Sorry, I just started listening, so not sure it was already asked, but is there a possibility of a slanted or curved tiles to do deck plans like Shergol? How do you mean? You mean the walls? No, GridForge is designed to just be squares for the time being. I won't rule out any changes, or I mean, third party is entirely possible. But we just wanted a simple system, and we know from experience, as soon as you start getting curves involved, it gets very difficult very fast. The iterations get out of control. Yeah, it just doesn't work so well. So what I was just doing before this is dumping a couple of items into here. You can already see some of the stretch goals we've prepared. I just want more and more tiles. So like John said, oh, let's have a new tile at these different levels. And I'm like, no, let's do 2. And it sounds like 2, but it's not. It's like 1 times 16. So each new bonus tile stretch goal is actually 64 new files. Sorry, 32 new files. So we've released quite a few different variants. And I've done some grimdark variants. I've done, some more warning stripes and tiled stuff. It's all quite simple. Some of it's more complex, and I'm getting used to the repeatable patterns again. Like this one, kind of like how this is working out. So the repeatable pattern ends up like this. And I think that looks quite cool. Bordering on what's like too complex for this sort of thing. But I'm also just doing some preparatory stuff. So like, for example, I provide John with these models. Oh, that shader's running wild. Let's address this with a standard surface shader. And some more here. So most of this is prep work. I don't know how much we'll actually end up releasing. Actually, this probably got the same issues. Not really. We'll leave that be. So I only really started adding shaders just so I can make more sense of this scene. So I just thought today we'd hang out, and I think one thing that would be really cool for these to do is a conversion for our crawl space system. So that's what I thought I'd be working on. You did make some curved walls for the calendula? Huh. Right. So, yeah, I mean, you did do curved walls? I mean, or are you talking about actually trying to do a lab ship floor plan, like with a slant on the base tiles? Because that we will never do. It just makes way more sense to do that laid out as the deck plans are. Alex says, so perhaps something for a Creative Commons license. Well, the thing is, Shergel has converted our models. So we will probably make some of the... We're kind of in an area where like the conversion itself is not the issue. The thing is, it's our IP, it's our content, and we don't want to just give away a whole bunch of it. So it's kind of like in the border, we might like package it so that people can get it. But just need to figure that out. And like then the other thing is I did show this off on the launch stream, but I'll do it again. But I'm in the process of converting Sleipnir to use GridForge. But basically any part where it's not a square, we have either a custom solution for it, like I think you saw in the pitch video there, the airlock of the Hyperion sphere was a lift-off piece. And because of the way that the tiles are, we just make a little overhanging section. And that's worked really well. But, you know, the Sleipnir, for example, let me just get this open, and Sleipnir 2024. So in February, we're going to do an Expanse style ship. We needed to push the Persephone a little bit later into next year because it's going to require a lot of time, and we do not have financially the runway to invest in a ship of that size at the moment. So I'm going to create another Expanse style ship, which will have a lot in common with Sleipnir, and also justifies the fact that I've actually gone back over Sleipnir and increased the detail and printability considerably. I really like this side shot. The render is really cool, but you can kind of see here a cutaway of what's in the ship, and it looks really, really cool when rendered. You can see all the different decks there. The only thing I didn't convert, this is a bit dark, so I'm just going to actually adjust the exposure to 2 so we can see some of the details. Can get rid of this little helper there. So to demonstrate, like if there's one area left where I know I forgot to, let's see, this all needs to be on the nose, but the kind of improvements I've made is like I know that there's been some weaknesses at the base, especially with weak or thin walls in the floor panels. That's all been addressed. These have broken off so many times it's not funny, but now I've designed it so that these prongs actually, you know, just stub down in there, kind of like our missile system, but more stable, so you can print it on its side where it's strongest. This also clips into the base. So let's just add these to the nose layer. There we go. You can see there that the bridge is the last piece I need to convert. And there is, I think, this model needs to be removed, which is a leftover from the animation, and I suspect there's maybe something else, like this green thing here is kind of indicative of extra geometry that we don't need. But it's small things that, you know, we'll still probably address this a little bit. Like here we had this screen which was designed to fit an actual tiny little TV screen. I couldn't really get it working as desired, but if we look at the other decks, and I'm not going to spend too long on this because I know I have shown this off, and a lot of the people that watch rather often might be a bit frustrated at seeing the same stuff over and over again. But you have the suit stands here, and it might not be evident, but before we didn't have this much floor space. And you know, so all these airlocks now use, there is one, I need to figure out where to put this little pulley thing, because it's in the way of that. Or I might move this thing up to there. Actually, let's do that real quick. That makes a lot of sense. You're making too much sense, Ben. Is not something people usually say. Alright, so I'm just gonna, this is one of the kind of tricks I do in Maya, so I'm going to cut these, so if I now select this, you can kind of see these are all separate from each other. So I want these still to be joined, but it's a bit easier to cut it in that way and rejoin it here, so I can then come in and grab this and move my this up to the top, somewhere here, and then we'll be moving it out, and that's where we want to move our pivot point finally, like so. I'm just going to do a fill for this particular object, whoops, to make sure there's no close stuff. We've got to close in this this circle. So the easiest thing probably is going to be to select this and convert the selection. So let's go select, convert selection to vertices, and then we just do a merge to center. Vastly simplifies things. And then we can lastly take this thing, move the pivot point to the corner there, and we should be able to snap that back here and maybe move it up just a tad. Something like that. Is that really aligned correctly? Looks like it. So it feels like a more natural piece of the wall there. So it's alright if it intersects a little. But there, that looks more interesting, I think, than the way we had it before. So yeah, just like opening up the spaces, creating more room, and then of course these tiles are using GridForge. And you might have noticed that this base tile was included as well. That's weird, the printer just said it's finished, but it finished a work. I actually designed and printed out some hooks, just these very simple things so I could mount the telephone. Let's see, an airlock, as in drop in 2x2 is great. Yeah, I mean, this will have a combination, however, of open lock and GridForge. So there's still a few modifications. That's a good point though. Maybe this airlock could just be GridForge. Thing is though, this boundary is kind of reliant on it as well. So unless I can figure out, I'd have to redo the whole boarding tube thing. Hey, that looks really cool, doesn't it? Let's make sure we can't select the thing. So The old boarding tube there kind of looks cool. I like it. I want to make sure it still fits, and that's actually one of the final adjustments, because if you look at the base, let's isolate that, it's got one open lock clip there, but if we look at the airlock, turning this thing off again, oops, it has 2 clip holes, so I need to change that. Something to consider. Hey Brian, how's it going? Let's see, I made those from existing Second Dynasty ship holes, an airlock, dropping. I think we're up to date. It was just Brian saying hello, which is great. So yeah, and then we've got, you know, all these different levels underneath. I just let's add these to the correct decks. I feel like I've got this weird sense of deja vu. You can see here I don't actually have the bases in at the moment. Just because I was mapping it out, and even just shading all of this. When I've gone through and shaded all of those objects, I also redesigned the layout completely. Because I always was frustrated with Sleipnir that you couldn't get miniatures into these rooms. So now I've built into the walls themselves. I think in the beginning I was like thinking modularity is most important, and now I was just thinking, no, the most important thing is playability and customizability. So now you've got all of these floor tiles, but obviously only the full square ones are properly customizable, so you could like swap out some of these things. But that might be as simple as, you know, you want to drop in a little table and chairs with a, I don't know, a card game going on top of it or something like that. So, yeah, just to show that that's the principle, and I've only got some very, very rough sketches of what the new Expanse style ship will look like, but it's going to be wider is the idea. So I don't think it'll be larger, and I haven't decided yet if I want this all to flange out the way it's flanging out, or what the deal will be. But I want there to be more play space is the important thing. So, hey Joseph, welcome. Good day to all. Printing GridForge. Hope everyone is well. Well, that's very nice. So I just I did show that off in the last stream. I want to show this off today, and we're going to continue converting some of these things from now. Remember the cant, indeed. I'm halfway through a rewatch at the moment. I think I'm at like episode 8 of season 3, so got the slog of season 4 to get through. I don't mind it that bad. I mean, what is it, McCreary or McCready or something? It's one of those characters where you just, you know, you Joffrey Baratheon that you want to punch the lights out of. So I've imported all of these items in here from the Odyssey. And this part up here is from Typhon. And the reason I wanted some parts from Typhon is because I did add and iterate to some parts, particularly these grills and grates. I think these look a lot better than this really rough, sort of like jail bar style thing we have here. For some reason you jumped to Dune instead. It is by caffeine alone that I set my mind in motion. I mean, I say reading as I drink some Coke. So yeah, basically, I was about done with this. I really need to remove basically from my vocabulary. The trick to all of this is, these are no longer 1-inch squares. So technically, if we merge this now, and that should be a finished tile there, which will support having an insert in there for an iris door. But say, for example, we move this back to the grid, you'll now notice there's a gap, and this is to offer tolerances, just the way it's all sort of designed. I don't think it's the worst thing, and when John joins things together, he usually just adds a tiny little because each of these tiles, in case it's not clear, it's like these are all new style tiles that we're going to put out, but this is the iteration, right? So there's 16 of a base tile. This one has a couple more variants that I was just playing with. And obviously, beyond what we're putting out now, we're going to put out more tiles like this. And actually, since the bases are free, like the frames and the clips, we've been talking for ages about maybe having like the option of a lower tier on tribes, just for people who want a couple of new tiles each month and that sort of thing. To sort of, I guess, compete with the, $1 or $2 a month crowd, and then throw it into the larger pledges. I don't know the exact form it's going to be. I know we've had this discussion many times over the last year and a half. The Canterbury was 1,000 meters long. That's a lot of tiles. Yes. Remember the Cant, but smaller. Brian says, said it before, I'm sure, but love this style of ship, The Expanse, Jovian Chronicles, others, I'm sure. I can't think of it right now. So, I don't want to show live on the stream our figures for the year. I don't think, if you're truly desperate to know what kind of funding we have, you can, like all Swedish companies, go into allabolag.se and see how our company is doing, and you'll have some outdated information. But in the statistics for the past year, I'm going to, I can screen grab just a tiny little piece. I'm going to go year to date, and I'm just going to, let's see, where's my snipping tool gone? It's on my other window right now, but I'm just going to snip this. Top selling store objects. There we go. And you can see that by far 115 ships, and it's not as much money as you'd think it is. I can reveal, like, our earnings after all the discounts and things, like, it's still only probably about, it's less than $2,500 for those 115 Sleipnirs. But still, it was the most popular object we had in the last year. And it makes perfect sense to do another Expanse style ship and to update this. And also, I spoke to Back a Kit and they're like, hey, we'd be happy for you to try our services. Also, would you like it if we, appeal to all of the people that backed the Expanse 28mm miniatures? And I'm like, yes, please. I would like that. So, yeah, just the numbers speak for themselves. It also kind of shows you, like, we don't sell tons and tons of ships, and obviously they're expensive. But, like, if you compare a Beowulf that took 8 months to develop to, say, a Sculpt that took, a week for someone to perfect, and that would be a very sophisticated Sculpt. Obviously, there's a lot more man hours going into it. So we don't sell enough copies to make it super cheap. But this is a good enough indication that, people are really interested in the Expanse style models. So, yeah, that's a really good reason to keep pursuing that. So let's continue. And if you have ideas for tiles and things, I'm happy for you to share your ideas. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but, wow. Attacking my own glasses. Now in high definition. So yeah, we've got quite a few tiles to convert, and I don't think I'd want to do all of them. I don't know if this is going to be, an add-on or what the deal will be. GridForge is doing better than we predicted. It was only meant to be a small campaign. We would like to see a lot of other people using the system. We think it's neat. And that would let, for example, other people that make sci-fi tiles easily integrate with our stuff, without having to go the full, open lock route. And I haven't looked at the templates in a long time. I don't know if they've been updated to remove some of the built-in supports and whatnot. But supported clip holes just don't need supports. They're so small. The bridging's not an issue. Yeah, more than 200 backers. So like, I honestly thought we'd probably only hit about 250 altogether, and we're gonna have this open until January. So, and we haven't really pushed for it ourselves yet. I might. I think maybe we'll go the route of emphasizing, if you want a discount, maybe just drop in on tribes or something like that. Or we can send out like a 20% off for past backers or something. I don't know. We can't always compensate everyone equally. You don't want to compete with me. Really wouldn't be competition anyway, but I'm working on some organic fantasy items for GridForge. I mean, it's not an issue. I don't see it as direct competition. It's just like having more options if you're running a table. It's like, if I'm going to run a D&D module and I have the time for it, I'll go out and pick the exact miniatures or tiles or whatever that I want for that scenario. This is potentially a lot easier to say like, oh, I'm going to dump 50 cents on this tile design. Whatever it ends up being. Just to have a few custom pieces and whatnot. So I see this as being very playable. You could use it for Space Hulk, you could use it for D&D, you could use it for all kinds of things. Obviously we don't have any fantasy tiles, but I mean, if you want to do sci-fi tiles or whatever, it's not going to bother me. You fall within your rights. Anyway, let's get one of these tiles together, and I will take you through the process of what we need to do to convert. So I think maybe this T section is a good example. So let's just grab that as a copy. Actually, we don't even need a copy. It's unnecessary. I want the file size to be small on this thing. So I'm just going to get rid of the original base, and we're going to move it over the template. And this isn't quite the full template. I think the actual template is just this section. And then I have another plate on top of that, which I have arranged to the right height for our existing tiles. But you'll soon see the issue at hand. And that is that we have this slight overhang. And that is because this tile is 25.2 millimeters from one side to the other. Whereas this is a full inch, 25.4 millimeters. That is the tolerance I was talking about. That is the gap that I've shown off. So normally I need to use a template, and this is one of my templates, where I basically just I've taken a proper tile and I've just extruded some lines where I need them. Actually, I could probably remove some of these, which I don't need, just to make it easier to see where those outlines are for me in the future. But we need to cut this down to size, and if we view it from the top, you can kind of make out here, there's the corner where it's supposed to be, and this is where it is currently. So in this case, fortunately, these tiles are very squarish. There's not too much to think about. It's not like the pain in the arse that we would have with downsizing, like for example these triangular patterns, because you can kind of see there on the corners where the cut is. Like you can see that's the full length side here, and this is the cut off side, and it's just like a tiny little corner thing where we've cut it off. So those can get to be a bit of a pain in the butt. But this one, fortunately, we can just select those vertices, move the pivot point, and we just match it down like so. And we do that on all four sides. So, John, you could use a Boolean operation to do this as well. in this case, I think this is the most effective. Maybe not time-wise, but like it will create the most balanced models. There we go. And now, if we join these together, I'm just gonna duplicate the base, and we'll join these. Merge, combine. And we should be able to move this on our grid, and there should be that little gap, which there is. Woohoo! So, some of the conversions are easy, some of them are more complicated, and we're still trying to strike the balance between, you know, saying, hey, you guys already own these, buy the GridForge version, but at the same time it's like, it is still work. So we can't just do it for free updates. Like, blame John if like normally I would have been the kind of person to say, okay, we're just doing the Shuttle Alpha Mark IV GridForge layout as a free update. But it's like, if I've spent a week and a half on that, or in the case of the Sleipnir, like 3 weeks getting it ready, I obviously can't do that for free. That doesn't make sense. So anyway, what custom blinks here? We can't talk about John anymore. Oh, because John's here, right? And I'm straight away saying blame John for something. What a great time to come in. I don't know. Some people say it's too generous, and then I think there's other people that would be happy for free stuff. So I can't decide for myself. I'm a very indecisive person. So I think we want this pattern too. So I don't want to use this version. I want to use this version. So let's see if we can gut this out. Oh boy, there was a lot more. Alrighty, so I'm going to do what I call a reverse select. Okay, then we'll move this out. Oh no, we grabbed a whole bunch of other stuff. We've got a light with it. Isn't that disembarking, alighting? It's one of those older words. I don't think it's in common use with international English. So let's recombine this. And I think actually we're going to delete this top part and just replace it altogether. I need to make sure that this thing is on the grid again. The best way to do that is to just move my pivot point up to the top and grab one of these corners, because I know this will fit to the inch grid. And then we should be able to get to grid snapping and move it. Alright, what's the chat saying? I blame John for everything, but I do it out of love. Why did I hear that in Jordanovsky's voice? Yeah, anyway, that's an interesting documentary, Jordanovsky's Tune. I recommend it. It's intense in places. He's intense. Imagine your son is going to play Paul Atreides, so you make him train martial arts every day for 8 hours for a year in preparation. And the kid was 12. Yeah, that was pretty intense, I would say. So let's move this. Oh, you're making more GridForge items. Neato. Yes, I'm converting some of our crawl spaces, and I mentioned that this is one of those sort of like areas where see the thing is, there's going to be cases, for example, with some of our older tiles where we can't iterate with 16 copies. Maybe we could do like 1 to 4 inch long corridors, but they'll still be only 1 wide if it's in that style. I'm thinking like our corridors or the engineering sections where, you know, you've got these side patterns and it's just not repeatable. So I have been, it is actually a challenge to make tiles that are repeatable. And we need to get this final section. So I'm going to isolate this. This is where it starts getting a bit tricky. I think we can maybe just move this in. You know what, maybe we'll just move all of that to be sure. Better safe than sorry. Snorri? Snorri? Alrighty. So you're going to have that gap. It might be a bit annoying, but you're dropping it down anyway. So we might be able to have like corridors that are of a certain length. But these sort of feature pieces, the idea would be you just drop in the feature pieces where you want them and then use a combination of the very basic elements like passages that would be, you know, in these sort of sizes. Like here you go. So you would have that, and the singles. And then probably these ones as well. Are the main ones. If you're going to have like pipes and things, so it's not always going to be that, but these tiles, all of these ones, and yes, there are more, John, there are more. That tile breaks a semi-rule. It juts out into another tile. Yeah, obviously, but the thing is, when you're going to use crawl spaces, it's presumably behind a wall. And where it juts out, it will be over the top of a tile. So even if this is pointing out, facing another tile there, it's actually not going to intersect with it. So I feel that isn't a crazy breaking of the rules. But even if it were, I am a crazy person. And enter the cantilever tile, indeed. Yeah, anyway, sorry for the start of the stream chaos, which is kind of appropriate. It is Friday the 13th, and we are sitting on the shoulders of giants, that being the awesome stream from last week. We didn't have that level of chaos. Again, on behalf of the whole team, I apologize if there have been any delays with what we've been putting out. Sometimes shit happens. It's as simple as that. I don't want to get into any details or whatnot, but the whole team stepped up and pushed through some tough times to get GridForge out on time. I'm sorry we had to push it out before the delivery of the 5th Frontier War campaign, but if you are a 5th Frontier War backer, please do check your email box. Inbox. You should have gotten your surveys. Yes, I didn't proofread one sentence and forgot to finish a paragraph, but you know, that's also in keeping with the way I tend to do things. But there will be a proper update, which I was showing at the front of the stream. So this thing will come out in the next hour, and it will have some cool previews of the miniature work we're doing and some important information about when the update goes. So if everything goes according to plan, all 60 of the base miniatures should be out next week. We are not going to pre-support. If the artist has done pre-supports, we'll include them. But in general, the feedback we've been getting lately is there's such a variance in the types of resin people are using, the types of printers people are using. Most people are making their own supports anyway. Maybe later we add them when John starts printing them, I don't know. But to begin with, not going to be included. All 6 of the base vehicles should be included. The only exception might be the interiors for the APCs. There's 2 of them. Actually, just one, because only the Zidonis have one base thing. There's also the Imperial tanks coming out. I think there's several other vehicles as well that will be out at the same time. So most things, and then a good portion of those additional miniatures are also out. I think more than half of the stretch goals are done. So yeah. So there you go. that's what we're doing for the time being. That's all we can do before Christmas. We've only got a week left of production time. It'll just be me in the office the rest of the year. So we're basically having our year wrap on Friday next week. We will be live streaming episode 51 of this year. And who knows, maybe there will be a beer in my hand and we will be on our way to being very merry that night. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for checking out GridForge. I hope you love the system as much as we do. I think John did an absolutely fantastic job coming up with this thing. And it may not be the only solution out there for tiling in this way, but it is the lightest and the fastest to print. So get on it, check it out. And if you become a tribe member, you get 40% off the all-in pledge. So check that out. Link is in the description. Bye, guys. I need to find the exit. Bye, guys.